Hello, people. It's Michael again, or S. Massimo. Just chilling out. I wanted to go over. I made a video a little while back, entitled "Loved Ones." I'm not in front of it right now. It's either "Loved Ones" or "Lost Ones," something like that. But I'll put the name of that video in the description for this video. And I was just saying pretty much how you should treasure your loved ones, because I had lost my grandmother in May, and I just thought I should just share that with you guys. I was watching Tyler Perry's newest movie, I Can Do Bad All By Myself, the other day with some of my friends, and I was watching the movie, and in the movie, I'm not going to give away the movie or anything because I know some of you haven't seen it yet. But in the movie, it was basically talking about at one point where someone had died and how they didn't get to say goodbye. And bird feathers on me. I'm in the bird room with the dogs and the birds, as you can see. There they go. There's the birds. There's one of the dogs and there's another dog back there. Get down. Get down. Anyway, and I was just thinking about like how people always say how they didn't get to say goodbye because they don't know that the person's gonna die or whatever. Sometimes you do. Some people are lucky enough or unlucky, not really sure how you would put that, enough to know that someone's time is coming to an end and they can say goodbye or have some type of closure. And the one thing I will say in my situation with my grandmother is that I did get to say goodbye in a way. Previously to my grandmother death, I had this dream, and to me it felt more like a premonition that my grandmother was going to go into the hospital and I wouldn't be able to see her again, and it was just really strong. It was a really strong feeling that I had, and I couldn't let go of it, and I wanted to be in denial about it and pretty much say that it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And I called my grandmother. Well, actually, my grandmother called me and told me she was in the hospital. No one called me. She was in the hospital for like 4 days, and no one had called me and told me. And when she had told me that, it just like scared me. And then after that, I had the dream, and I was just in denial that it would happen. And she had got out the hospital and was out of the hospital for a couple days, and then went right back into the hospital, and then I just was for sure that my grandmother would not leave the hospital, and I knew it, but I kept telling myself, no, it wasn't true. And then I found out when my grandmother was back in the hospital that she was going to have another surgery, and no one had told me. I found out like last minute just due to everyone being so frantic with everything going on, and I found out she was going to have another surgery, and it was Mother's Day, actually, and I was trying to find a way to get out to California and figure out like how I was going to get this money up to get out to California and whatever, because I live in Jersey, so I was trying to get it together and whatever, and I found out that my grandmother had to have another surgery from my aunt. And so I told my aunt, I was like, I have to talk to my grandmother. I have to before she goes into the surgery. And my aunt was saying that they were saying that she couldn't talk to anyone and that she could barely even actually talk because of all the surgery and the stress that was on her. And I told them, I was like, I have to talk to my grandmother. And my aunt was saying, well, they weren't allowing her to have any visitors or calls or anything at this point in time until after the surgery. And I was just really adamant about the fact that I had to talk to my grandmother. So I had my aunt call the hospital, and I spoke to one of the nurses on the floor, and I just explained to them my situation, that I was in Jersey, and I needed to talk to my grandmother because she was going to go into the surgery. It's Mother's Day. You know, I just laid it on really thick. Just, look, I need to really talk to my grandmother. So I talked to him, and he basically said that I could talk to her, that she couldn't really talk, but I could talk to her. So he transferred me to her room, and I got on the phone with my grandmother, and I was just telling her that I loved her and that I was just praying for her and hoping everything would be all right, and and everything. And she was just saying, she said to me that she loved me too and everything. And I was telling her, I was like, Grandma, don't talk, because I know, and you could hear it in her voice, like the strain and how like hard it was for her at that time. I feel like I'm about to cry, but it was just really like hard. And at the time, I just felt really guilty because I felt like I knew what was going to happen, and I didn't take the initiative to go out to California and see my grandmother before what inevitably happened. Um, and I just regretted that a lot. And at the time, I didn't really see it as that until just the other day. Mind you, today is like the 21st of September, and this was in May. And this was a couple of days ago when I went to go see this movie. And I just realized that I got something really special that my family didn't get and a lot of other people didn't get, with their family members and people that are close to them. They didn't get to say goodbye. I got to tell my grandmother I loved her, and I got to talk to her. And it was like a minute-long conversation at max. And now I think back to it, and I really cherish that I got to have that. And it was just a really good moment for me now that I look back on it. At the time, hindsight is 20/20. But at the time, I was just really regretful and really guilty that I didn't take the trip to California. But I did get to say goodbye to my grandmother, and that is something I will always cherish. Unfortunately, my grandmother did go into that surgery and died on the operating table, which is very unfortunate. But things are going to happen if they're supposed to happen. I felt like even though it was a mistake of the doctors why my grandmother passed, the doctor even admitted it, actually called my aunt and admitted to his mistake. But I feel like in my heart that there was no mistake in what happened to my grandmother. She was meant to go, and that is how it was, and that's how it is. And I feel like I was given a gift to know that it was going to happen, so I knew that I had to take the initiative to make some sort of contact with my grandmother before she passed. Just because I don't think I would have been able to deal with it just because of what happened with my father when I was very younger, and we'll get into that another time. But I just wanted to say once again, cherish the people in your life and show them that you love them, if that is the case, and let them know. Take care. Love ya. Deuces.